Hello, everyone. This is Doug Wilkerson with Central Christian Center here in Joplin, Missouri. Also with Saturday Night Live Life Recovery Ministry, also here with the church. This is a encouraging word from Doug, and hopefully it's a good word for you to help you, to encourage you, to maybe help you to maybe get a new idea, get started down a healthier path. All we want to do here at the church is try to help you here at Central Christian Center. You know, our desire, my desire, Pastor Hank's desire, all the church staff and board people, we just interested in trying to do something that will help you. It's the reason why we try to put this information out, the reason why we put our videos out on YouTube and Facebook to just to try to help and encourage, to help you to have a better life, help you to have a better relationship with God, because we believe that if you are able to get closer to God, then things will get better for you. Now, I know that may scare some of you, but the fact of it is that you look back in and the real nature of God, God's true character, love and acceptance and mercy and peace, you see that. And you see that demonstrated in your life, whether it's coming from somebody that you'd say that's a church person or spiritual, or just a good, kind-hearted person, because that's still in God's nature. That's God, and He wants to connect with you and help you. I know that a lot of bad stuff happens and messy stuff happens in all of our lives, and even in the church, even from what we call our Christians. In fact, I had a conversation with some folks today about they were talking about something that happened that was just absolute terrible from the church world, and I said, I'm sorry, and the lady, the lady that was speaking there, her and her husband said that's not Christian like. I said, well, it may be Christian like, but it's not Christ like, and that's the Christ like character is what we're all shooting for. Not that I've got that yet, but I'm better than I used to be, and not as good as I'm going to be. So anyway, we need to get into this, but we just want God to touch you, help you, and that's what you want, or you wouldn't be looking for helpful information. So anyway, I'm going to talk today here. My title is How Journaling Can Help Process through Anxiety and Depression. Help you to process that, work through that. And you can't stay in neutral, or you just can't say, well, I'll just wait for it to pass. We really need to step into this. We need to lean forward into this. Not that you need to jump off the cliff headlong, but you have to lean into this, because if you've ever pushed a car, it's a whole lot easier to steer when you got it moving. And so if we just lean forward, that helps things move, shift, work. So anyway, also 6 ways, okay? 6 ways to process your feelings through writing. Writing is part of that process. And I know a lot of us hate to write. I don't like to write all that much. I do more of it now than I ever have in my entire life, and also processing on the computer. But 6 ways to process. And writing is such a way of putting things down. If you're not perfectionistic about it, and we'll talk more about that here in a minute. Also, we're talking about here, and I'm going to maybe spring some new terms on you, but that's how you emotionally regulate, how regulate yourself. And because you know that because when we're in a emotionally dysregulated state, you are overwhelmed, you're upset, you could be mad, you could be angry, you could be just what people call in a bad mood, or you may just have a state of being angry or upset or just nasty, okay? Harsh, bitter, unforgiving, and you can have a feeling, and you can have a mood, and you can have a state. You can be in a state. That's their trait or behavior. That's the way they are. Not the way they act occasionally, but that's the way they are. We want to be careful about that. And anyway, we're going to talk about trying to regulate ourselves. And not that this is everything, but this is something that can help. And these 6 things I want to be talking about here, hopefully one of them will hit or something out of one of them. And not that, if you can do all 6 of them, that would be wonderful. That would be awesome. But not everybody's wired the same, put together the same. So hopefully one will be helpful to you. If not, hopefully something will cross your path that will. So anyway, I want to share with you a little statement. Have you ever thought about this? Worries are prayers that you don't want to happen. Okay? Have you ever thought about that? Well, think about it for a second. Worries are prayers that you don't want to happen. Maybe we ought to think about what we're thinking about. How about that? And possibly use our mental, emotional time in a productive way instead of in a counterproductive way. Okay, think about things that you want happening. Let's go forward. Okay, so I want to share some scriptures with you that, as I was looking at these different methods of how to journal and process, and these are spiritual psychological tools. Okay, and because our spirit is actually trying to control our brain and our mind, and trying to help us to deal with our behaviors and our emotions. And so these are, I believe, spiritual psychological tools to help you. And here's some scriptures because God is the smartest psychologist that I've ever met, psychiatrist, whatever you want to say. And that here's some things that, as I was putting this together, I just want to share this with you. I thought these were good. And this is out of Romans 12:2, which is one of my favorite, which I'll say that probably about everything. But Romans 12:2, and this is out of the NIV, says, do not conform to the patterns of this world. Okay, we're talking about do not conform. Okay, we're not talking about being regulated with the world. Okay, don't be caught up in that same system of depression or hopelessness, or being in a state that you just go, I don't care, things like that, and as a kind of a negative defense mechanism. He says, be not conformed to this pattern of this world, but be ye transformed. Okay, we're talking about making a change here, and that's what I'm talking about, regulation. We have to regulate. He says transform here, but that's a form of regulation. Would you agree? By the renewing of your mind. What you think, if you don't load your brain, your mind with healthy, good, beneficial stuff, if you're always thinking about your worries, okay, and if you're worrying about what you're worried about, then what I say, that's like praying for something that you don't want to happen. We need to direct our thinking in what we want instead of what we don't want. I've talked about that a lot. I want to go on. It says, be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, okay, that you may be able to test and to prove what God's will is. So when you're in a dysregulated state, when you're overwhelmed, when you're upset, when you're mad, when you're just spinning, okay, you don't know. Sometimes you don't know which end is up. It's kind of like being in the ocean when a wave turns you over. You don't know which direction is up. And that's really the truth when you get extremely disoriented. And what we want to do is help you to get orientated or regulated, okay? Let's read another scripture. What is the good and perfect or pleasing will of God. And so that was the end of that scripture. Ephesians 5:26, and this is out of the NIV. It says, where we at? To make her, or us, okay, we're talking about the church here, but to make her holy. Okay, we're talking about doing something, okay, all right, cleansing her, the church, us, by the washing with the word, through the word, by the washing of the water through the word. Didn't read that correctly. And again, this is processing. That is filtering ourselves through with the truth. If you just only use the news or bad stuff, most of the news, what they talk about is what the old statement is, what bleeds leads. Okay, because that gets your attention. Okay, because that stirs up our amygdala, and we go into a panic because we're want to be sure that we're trying to protect ourselves, and that's part of the way we're wired. But we are in this world. It's got so much chaos in it. We think there's threat all the way around us, but sometimes we need to take a break from that and take a time of washing our brain, our mind, our spirit, our heart, our soul in the washing of that word, that peace, to transform us, to renew us, to cleanse us, using the different words out of the scriptures. One other scripture I wanted to give. This is one that's used often in a different framework, but this came to my mind, and I've looked at it, and I've looked at 26, at least 26, maybe possibly more than that, translations. I printed out 26 or 27 translations of this scripture because when I first became a Christian, I used translations to help me to get the understanding of a particular scripture, because if they say the same thing using different words, gave me different pictures, different understanding, helped me understand what they were talking about, what they meant. Because, see, I'm a believer in it's important to know the words, but what's more important is know the meaning of what those words are trying to convey to us, the truth of it, because it's the truth that will make us free, set us free. And this is out of 2 Corinthians 10:5-6, and this is out of the New King James Version. It says, casting down imaginations, or, sorry, that's a different translation. It's that's the old King James memory. But it says in the New King James, casting down arguments and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God. So casting down is, again, we're stepping into it. We're doing something. Instead of being passive, okay, we're confronting it, and we're trying to deal with it. And so we're casting down imaginations, because imaginations, we if we're able to identify that as imagination, then we know where it's not lined up with the truth. And oftentimes we'll get fixated on a lie or imagination because we're afraid of it, and our fear grips us. He says, cast down those imaginations or those arguments or disagreements or different opinions. The different translations used all kinds of different words. And those high things exalt itself against the knowledge of God, and bringing every thought into captivity to the obedience of Christ, or in alignment with Christ, which is truth, because Christ is truth, and truth is Christ. I'm going to read that out of the English Standard Version. It says, we destroy arguments. Okay, that's active, right? Being active. Okay, we destroy arguments, and every lofty opinion rises against the knowledge of God, and take every thought captive to the obedience of Christ, or truth. Okay, all right. Verse 6. being ready to punish every disobedience when your obedience is complete. Now, I've had people very disturbed about that verse 6 because they saw it as extreme punishment, and it was taught to them that they were going to be punished. But as I studied and I looked at multiple concordances, and I've looked at this before many years ago, but I had one guy that was just totally convinced, and I said, you need to study that. You know, it's a funny thing. People come to me and they have a scripture that has eaten their lunch. Maybe it's terrorized them for years. Saying, convicting them or damning them. Okay, and a scripture. And the trouble is, it was distorted. The scripture was distorted, and oftentimes I couldn't get them to look. Really read the scripture, study it, see what it means, dig it out, search it out. Just don't run off of what was taught to you that was distorted. Really look at it. Man, we need to study to set ourselves approved, the scripture says, but set ourselves free. Okay, because most of the time we're twisted up with lies, and people maybe distorted the truth because they thought it was trying to help us, but distorted truth is not the truth. And that's sad to say. So, anyway, went to preaching, didn't I? And I think I'm running out of time because, it's 4 o'clock and my next appointment. So, I'll hit this quick. All right, these are spiritual tools. It's about spiritual, psychological tools, and this is to help us to regulate, help us to process, help us to move from that dysregulated, spinning out of control, overwhelmed, just sitting in panic, and bring us into a place. Okay, and this is using writing, but oftentimes we may have to use something physical like exercise, jogging, some sort of breathing exercise, just maybe something physical, because sometimes you can do something physical to help you get a hold of your brain, to help you to get a hold of your emotions. But here's some things, all right? And this is having to do with a tool. Number one, journaling. Journaling is self-counseling, okay? And we can write down our feelings and our emotions, what's going on, how we feel, okay? And that's the beginning, because before you can change anything, you have to become aware of it. Oftentimes we try to turn the light out and hide from it and deny that it's even there. But first we have to face the truth so that we can deal with the truth, so we can change the truth, so that we can alter what's going on in our life. You can't fix something that you say is not there. What is it? Jeremiah? No, not Jeremiah. Jude 12:1 says you can't heal a wound that you say is not there. I may not have the right reference, but it is in Jude. And Jude's only one chapter. So, let's see. All right, so we need to journal and maybe write down memories if you don't know how to memory, or the events of the day, or what's happened. The good things, be good to try to write good and things that's not so good, so you can process that. Write down your experiences, your feelings. Sometimes you have to do it in a third person. Doug did this and Doug did that. That may sound kind of strange, but sometimes you can add a little distance to help you to begin the process so that you can see what was going on. And it's to help you get a little closer, particularly if you have some disassociation issues. Sometimes you can even give your problem or your emotions or the feelings that you're having to a character, for instance, like a character in a movie, and how they would deal with it, how they would process that, and it begins to help you to get in touch with what's going on with you. So we're so out of touch with ourselves. Okay. Number two, brain dump. Brain dump is basically where you take a piece of paper, and it doesn't even have to be a good piece of paper because you don't have to save this and may not want to save this, but you just get all your thoughts out on a piece of paper. Don't try to organize it. Don't try to make sure it's spelled right. Don't make it grammatically correct. Punctuate. No, just get it out because trouble is, the fact of it is, we don't even know what's spinning around in our head. So if we can take that abstract stuff spinning around and get it down on paper, it shifts it into a more concrete thing and it becomes more real. And there's been times I said, is that what I'm thinking? Is that the thoughts I've had? Is that what's happening to me? Is that how I feel? Try it. See what you think. It can just be messy. And then when you're done, you can throw it away, burn it, whatever. That's up to you. A brain dump, okay? And there's a lot of people that communicate more about that. But number three, give or make a diagram. Okay, and this is a different way of writing down, and that is you start writing things down and putting them down, and you kind of you write this down, and then you write this over here, and then you draw lines and you connect things, and you make a diagram of what's going on and those types of situations. It's a little more than a brain dump, okay, but it's part of the processing, which is you should maybe follow up the brain dump with some of this diagram organization. So number four, this is an interesting one. Write a letter, okay, that you won't send. Write a letter that you won't send. And King David kind of did this in a sense, although we have a lot of his communique written down where he complained and griped. You can gripe to God, and that's called sometimes a prayer. But God takes that prayer, and as he processed his fears, his concerns, it helped him to begin to open up his heart to where he could allow God's grace. Because when we get upset, dysregulated, we harden up, shield up, protect up, armor up to try to protect ourselves from everything, including God. Isn't that the truth? So write a letter that you may never want to send. You probably don't want to send to anybody, but it helps you to begin the process. But maybe you never got a chance to say what it is you wanted to say or tell somebody. Maybe they're even dead, okay? Or maybe they have an ex parte against you, and it's a form of processing to start to allow some of this stuff to be regulated in you. And you know what? When you get more regulated, when you get more balanced, when you're at more peace, then things go better in your life. Okay? You stop attracting a lot of the negatives and you start allowing yourself to see some of the positives, a lot of the positives. All right. Number five, clarify your locus of control. And there's a lot I can say on this, but basically what that means, locus, is your point of control, what you have control of. So we want to clarify what you have control of, and what you don't have control of, okay? So recognize, because what do you have control over? Well, it's easier to ask, what do you don't have control over? And the truth of it is, we don't control anything out here in the world. We don't control other people. We don't control the situations. We don't control the weather. We don't control anything, okay? All right? What do we have the greatest control over? That's ourselves. In fact, we don't do a very good job about that. But that's where we have to start. We're always trying to fix the inside by fixing the outside. But the fact of it is, the outside's never going to fix the inside. Oh, it might make it a little bit more pleasant, but if we're sick inside, buying medicine to put in the medicine cabinet doesn't do us any good. We got to deal with the stuff inside. That's what I'm saying. Okay, so we need to recognize. You can put it down in three categories, even 1, 2, and 3. What I don't have control over, which is everything. What I do have control over, which is how I think, Okay. And when you get good enough that you're able to control your thoughts, which is the big thing, then you're able to affect your feelings and your emotions, and then that affects your behavior. We'll have to talk more about that later. And then the third category is, well, what can I influence or affect? Okay, because there's a lot of things we can affect, but we don't control them. Okay, trouble is we affect a lot of things, but we usually affect them in a negative way instead of in a positive way. Do you know what I mean? Like an anger explosion, you know. Okay, enough said there. All right, 6. Write an alternate ending to your situation or your problem. Okay, sometimes we just talk about the problem, but why don't we start writing some alternate endings? Well, what if, this is going on, this is going on, but that we could see a different ending to our situation. Okay, we begin to try to switch. Byron Katie says, turn it around. Okay, create a mental thought of a possibility, because you are so convinced that it's so bad there's nothing that can be happen, and we've done it before, but it was able to turn around if we didn't sabotage it too badly. And what I'm trying to do is get you to not sabotage your situation or your life any worse than you have to. And that is by maybe creating a thought of a different solution, like a possibility, like oftentimes I say, well, people have told me, well, it can't be done. Well, wait a minute. Let's be creative here. Let's think about, there's no way, surely there's some way that can be done, something that can shift, something that can give, a true possibility, something that maybe you can't see, but maybe we together might be able to see, right? And by the way, I can't see around corners, but God can. And boy, He's taught me that lesson. That when God directs me, and I can say, God knows around the corner, and I'm going to let Him direct me. How about you? Well, being dysregulated, okay, to calm your anxiety and depression, process it through writing. We're talking about shifting how you think, okay, how you behave, which is a product of how you feel, how you think, how you feel, how you behave. So may the Lord bless you and keep you, and may His face shine upon you and give you His peace. Hey, we're going to be having Saturday Night Live this week at 7 o'clock Saturday, okay, right here at the church. And also, of course, we got church Sunday morning, okay, and that's right here at 10:30. And we got Roundup coming up here in a few months. So anyway, until next time, take care of yourself, make healthy choices.